What's up, YouTubers? This is Big Woody. I'm doing my first video here. It's gonna be a build video on how to rebuild the UL Crown stock coil. If a lot of you are like me, you don't really have the money to go out and buy $10 coil every time yours burns out, and I'm fairly new to the vaping game. I started looking online for the best of the best sub-ohm tanks, and I started buying them up, and the Crown was #1 on Vaping 360's list, and went out and got it, and I vaped at the recommended 90-watt range, and after about 6 hours of chain vaping, the coil went out on me. Later I learned that you're supposed to ease the stainless steel coils in before you just go straight up to the recommended wattages, and that's what caused my coil to burn out. So I ended up throwing it away, going on to the next one and the next one, and before I knew it, I was already $40 into a $40 tank. So I was not very happy with that. And right now, the only place you can get the RBA in my town is online, and I'm kind of I don't know, what you call a instant gratification type person. So I started doing some research and looking and trying to figure out how I could make the most out of what I had on hand, and I started seeing people post that it could be done, and I started tinkering with it myself, and I saw that there were pictures and there were other people doing different types of builds, but there wasn't any builds that were exactly on my beginner slash amateur type level. So I decided that I was gonna post one that was on my level, that maybe people could relate to, and maybe it was more up to speed to people on my level, and hopefully it helps. Today we're going to be doing a temperature coil. I have titanium. I think titanium is the future for temperature builds. I built my first temperature coil when I first got my temperature device, and it was it was probably the best tasting vape I ever had and ever experienced, and it's even better on the Crown. So we're gonna go ahead and take a quick vape. I'm gonna show you what the Crown looks like with the titanium coil that I built in it at 475 degrees, and then after that I'll show you what tools we need for this build, and then we'll dive right into the build. So let's have a quick vape. And that's a 70-30 VG-PG mixed juice that I made myself, and as you can see, the clouds are pretty good. It's got great vapor, and for a temperature controlled build, it's still a nice warm vape and tons of flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dive down into it. I already have one build. I'm gonna show you what it looks like after it's already done, and then we're gonna go ahead and move straight into making one. So alright, so we're gonna stop this. I'm gonna pause it, and then we'll get to it. So here's the coil. Don't mind the NI200 or anything like that, but this right here is what the coil looks like after it's been rebuilt. As you can see, the inside, what we have here is 26 gauge titanium wire. It's a parallel build, and it's wrapped 7 times on a 4mm inner diameter rod. The pieces come together, or come apart rather, easily, and I'll show you that here in a second. And I'm going to show you what you will need as far as tools, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start taking it apart. So what you'll need is, obviously you're going to need 26 gauge titanium wire. You'll probably need about 1.5 feet. That's what I use, and the reason why is because you're going to need to leave long leads on both ends, and you'll see why as we get deeper into the build. You're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers. Any type of needle nose pliers will do. Pair of flush cutters. Any pair of flush cutters will do. A precision screwdriver set. For this particular build, the two that we're going to be focusing on is the 1/8 bit and the 3/32 flathead bits. You need a drill. Any drill will do. It doesn't matter if it's corded or battery operated. I have a corded drill just because I'm cheap and couldn't afford a battery operated one at the time. And you're going to need cotton. I use regular store-bought. Comes in a bag, kind of like this, cotton. I've done a lot of research, and you know, people say that if you get cotton like this, it has peroxide, blah blah blah. You need to boil your cotton balls, and then you got people on there that say, oh, don't boil it because as it's sitting out, there's mildew and mold that grow on it, and plus when it's sitting in the water, all the chemicals are still in the water, so it goes in there, and you're better off just to get regular Japanese cotton or organic cotton. It doesn't really matter what cotton you use, and I'll show you. You use your own preference, okay? I'm not going to tell you what to put in your body. Personally, I've been vaping on this regular cotton for the last 3 months, and I haven't noticed an adverse effect on my health. And I'm a smoker for over 15 years, and so if this little bitty bit of cotton is going to be the doer in of me, then so be it, you know. Surely this cotton is a better alternative than all the different additives in tobacco. But by all means, if you have any type of, you know, hesitation of using regular store-bought cotton, either go to the pharmacy and get the organic pharmacy grade cotton, or order your organic Japanese cotton or your cotton bacon or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but as I said, what I'll be using is the regular store-bought cotton. I mean, you can pay $1 and get 100 cotton balls that'll last you almost 6 months. And with as many builds as I do and try out to better my repertoire, it's just easier on my wallet. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Oh, actually, let's not yet. You also are going to need a 4mm equivalent bit. I use the Coilmaster jig set 4mm bit. You can use any rod or whatever your preference is. I picked this up at my local vape shop for $12 used. I think you can get them online for like $10, and probably cheaper than that on eBay. I tell you what, this is probably the best thing that ever came out as far as microcoils are to be concerned, but it also takes the guesswork out of the coils. Anything from 1.5 to 4mm inner diameter coils, it's a godsend. And I mean, you don't have to guess anymore about, is this really 2.5 millimeter or is this close to 2.4. You don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to guess, and you don't have to worry about trying to wrap tight coils anymore, because you got this jig that does it for you. So I mean, I highly recommend picking one of these up if you're going to try to build microcoils. We won't be using the complete jig set. We will just be using the rod for this particular video. And then lastly, we're going to use a hammer. You don't necessarily have to use a hammer, but some kind of hard hitting device will work, because we're going to be separating the coil pieces. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So you're going to take your stock coil and you're going to pull the airflow channel straight out, and it's easily detached. And then from there, you're going to pull your O-ring out, your insulator O-ring. And then once you get that free, you'll go ahead and remove your old cotton and your old wire, and it should come out dirty, nasty, and look something like this. It's gonna have like burnt wire that's gonna be fused together, kind of like that, and it's gonna be burnt, and your cotton's gonna be all nasty and yucky, and then you just go ahead and ditch that. And then when you actually look at your stock coil, you're gonna have some cotton that's gonna be in these little holes. Don't worry about that, we'll get rid of that later. Alright, so you're gonna take your 1/8 bit screwdriver, and if you look inside here, you can see these slots on the inside, and that's where you're gonna put your 1/8 bit screwdriver. You're gonna put it right through the holes, just like that. And then you're gonna take your other 5/32 or whatever, I don't even remember what screwdriver it is, and you're gonna put it right on the inside lip at the very bottom, and holding it steady, you're gonna grab your hammer and you're just gonna give it a couple taps until it comes free. And then you'll remove all pieces. And what that leaves you with is 4 pieces. So you have your outer shell, your inner shell, which is what we'll mainly be working with your coil, your airflow, and then your insulator. Please don't lose your insulator, because if you lose your insulator, then you pretty much lost your whole coil. So make sure you keep your insulator in a relatively safe place. Alright, so once you have your coil apart, you can go ahead and set those pieces aside. And then you're going to take your drill and go ahead and loosen the head. Take your wire, insert one end into the drill chuck, close it down securely. Pull on it, make sure it's not going to come free. You're going to stretch it tight. Take your needle nose, grasp it at the opposite end, and while holding pressure at the opposite end, holding it tight, you can go ahead and run the drill for about 5 seconds. And then you're going to take your fingers and you're going to go ahead, run your fingers all the way from the edge of the drill chuck all the way up to your needle nose, and then release. And when you release, you'll notice that you have a relatively straighter line of coil or of wire to work with. and it just makes it a lot easier to wrap. And then what I do, I go ahead and I'll take it out of the drill, and you won't be needing the drill for the rest of this, so you can go ahead and set that aside and clear your table space. You're going to take your wire, get your cutters, and you're going to cut the wire in half. So we'll go ahead and cut it in half right about there. And then you're going to stack the two wires on top of each other, and then trim the ends to make sure they're even. So you should have two even wires. You're going to lay them on top of each other, make sure they're parallel. Take your 4mm bit and leaving a long tail. I usually leave about 3 inches or so. You're going to start wrapping tight coils, and we're going to wrap 7 wraps, making sure that the wires do not cross each other. You can go ahead and take your pliers, pull on your leads to tighten, pull out the slack. And you're going to try to get the coil as tight as possible. Now it's going to recoil, and you're going to have some gaps. And as you can see, you're going to have some gaps, but that's okay, because we'll fix that when we actually install the coil. Alright, so now whichever lead is the longest, and it doesn't matter, that's going to be your top. So for our case, this lead is our longest, so that's going to be our top. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this bottom lead, and I know I told you could put your drill away. I usually twist my leads with my drill. You can do it by hand if you prefer, but I'm going to go ahead and twist it with my drill, and it just makes it a lot easier to work with. You could go ahead and put up your drill, but for me, I like to use my drill to twist my leads. So starting with the small lead, I'm just going to go ahead and insert it into my chuck and tighten it down. Go ahead and turn it on. The drill doesn't want to work with me. Oh, come on. once you get this short side twisted up, go ahead and do the same with the long side. Maintain your chuck inside of the, or not your chuck, but your rod inside the coil, because you do not want to over twist these leads and disfigure your wraps. That would be bad. Now we are truly done with the drill. Alright, so what you're going to do once you got those leads wrapped up is you're going to take your short end and you're going to bend it straight down, flush with your rod, and then you're going to do the same exact thing with the long end. You're just going to take them and bend them straight down. You don't want to mess with the coil or anything. You just want them both facing straight down. So it should look something like this. Alright, next you're going to go ahead and take your cotton. I got about I don't know, about 6 inches here, maybe 5. I'm going to go ahead and take about a half of an inch off in width, because I want it to be about the same, a little overhang, but about the same width as my coil, if you can see. And then what you're going to do is, using the overhang of the top coil, that's going to be your holder of your cotton when you first start wrapping. So you're going to put your very first piece, or your lead part of your cotton, underneath that leg, and then you're going to bunch it up. You don't want to bunch it up completely, but you do want it to be right up against the bottom of your coil, and then you're going to start wrapping. And I usually I pull tight and I do a full wrap. And there's one, then you're going to go over the leg, there's 2, and then I usually go about halfway again, so about 2.5, and then I'll rip my cotton off. And then I'll push it back up, and I'll start smoothing it out, making it round, flattening it. Make sure you leave your rod in, or whatever you use to wrap on, because you want to keep that hole open, because on these particular coils the airflow is actually through the coil. Alright, so we're going to take this piece of our coil. You're going to insert both legs through the middle along with your rod, and you're just going to push it straight down. Leave your rod in, and then you're going to take the smaller of your two screwdrivers that you got out earlier, and then you're just going to manipulate the cotton to where it's flush. Keep the rod centered and manipulate the cotton to where it's flush everywhere. It's going to be flush with your slits and flush with the top. If you got any extra little pieces of hair or cotton that are poking out, you can go ahead and pull them off because you want it to look clean. And it's not really for anything other than aesthetic look, but it just looks better to me, so. Alright. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to pull our rod out and we're going to flip it and put it in on the other side. And the reason I do this is because we have to push up just a little bit to give a gap for our insulator, which is our next piece. So with this insulator, what we're going to do, first off, before I get ahead of myself, your long leg, you're going to take and you're going to flip over into the hole. You can see the tooth, the teeth, the little gap. You're going to go ahead and flip it over, the long leg, and let it rest inside that tooth. And then go ahead and grab your insulator and let the little leg, put it through it, and go ahead and place the insulator in. Make sure everything fits. Get your rod, go back through. You're going to make sure everything fits. And then take your little screwdriver again and make sure everything's flush. And we're going to get our cutters and we are going to snip flush here at our tooth where we folded the long leg over, and then we're going to pull our rod back out and we are going to cut inside of the insulator, but not too deep. You want it resting right on the inside of the insulator. Insert your rod back through just to make sure that we still have our clearance. You're going to take your air hole and trying not to push the coil out. So if you can see, you're going to keeping the, if you can see my prong right here, you're going to try to use the airflow, catch it on the edge of the airflow so that it doesn't push down the coil, and then insert your airflow back into the coil. And taking your rod again, what I should have is I should be able to insert this rod all the way down. And as you can see, I did. So I have a perfect hole. And then we're going to go ahead and take our screwdriver again and we're going to just clean up everything. Flush the cotton, make it flush. And this will be our final step before we put everything together. Final, put the cap back on. Alright, so we're going to take our cap. All you got to do is line up the holes. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter what holes. Just line up the holes, pull your rod out, get your hammer, couple taps. And there we go. There's your completed coil. Take our rod one last time just to burrow out this middle, make sure this middle's still good. And it is. Take our screwdriver, make sure that cotton's nice and flush. And it is. Alright, now this is the house blend I was telling you about that I made myself. Okay, so what we're going to do, it's very tricky when you prime this. You're not going to prime the middle at all. All your priming is going to be doing through the holes. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your bottle dripper and you're going to put it on each hole, and I force the liquid in for like 3 or 4 seconds. So I push down, force liquid, stop, force liquid, stop. And I do that with all sides. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Alright. So we'll go ahead and grab our Addy. Should come in at about 0.15 to 0.18. Screw our coil in. Now, like I was saying, there's a couple tricks to priming these coils so that they don't burn out quickly on you. First things first, when filling this tank up, you're never going to go above the rim. Obviously, that's common sense. Secondly, as with all tanks, you're going to cut the airflow off, and when you get the tank almost all the way closed off, what I like to do is I'll catch it, and once I feel the threads catch on the O-ring, that's when I'll flip it over and twist it, and that's just so I don't have that many leaks. You're going to have leaks, but that's just because of, well, you may not. It depends on your cotton amount. I do, just because I don't use that much cotton in the cotton I use. But anyway, you won't have leaks after the initial leak. So we'll go ahead and screw it on our device. With this also, you want to start low, so you want to start at about 350 degrees, and then you want to ramp up to whatever your desired temperature is. So let's go ahead and check our ohms. Let's see what we got. 0.31. That's not too bad. We'll see what happens when we start vaping on it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around. Let's go ahead and see what we got. Let's see. We got on the Sigaly Fuchai, we're sitting at 0.31 ohms. It's not bad. And like I said, with the priming of this, so that you can keep the coil fresh, you want to start low and then work your way up. So we're going to start at 350, and then you can work your way up to your preference as far as your preferred heat. So that's already a pretty decent amount of vapor on 350. Go ahead and move up to 400. This would be a booger. $400, $425. Nice warm vape. And I think we're good to get to 475 now. Well, that's the build tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. As with all tutorials and things, it's not set in stone, or, you know, like, that's the only way to do anything, or, you know, anything like that. These are made for you to take what you can and adapt it and make it your own little toy. So I hope it helped you. I hope it was informative, and if anything else, you know, just taking apart the coil and giving you somewhere to start. Hopefully that was something that was useful for you. So like the video if you enjoyed it, and depending on how well this one works out, I will do more in the future. So keep vaping, and stay strong, and stay off those cigarettes.